Hello and welcome back to the world of the spirit consciousness. This is the continuation of the book study session on the astral body and other astral phenomena. We are in the third module, and here in this video session we will be discussing about the distribution of colors through the astral body, the impact of appearance depending on the development of man. Diving straight in to the distribution of colors through the astral body, so it's always found in the upper part of the astral body, the yellow of intellect, the rose of affection, the blue of devotion. So these colors are always found in the upper part of the astral body. In the lower part of the astral body, you will typically see the colors of selfishness, avarice, deceit, and hatred. So the mass of sensual feeling generally floats between the two. So the yellow of intellect is always found near the head, as the same is the origin of thought. Yellow is amongst the most conspicuous of the colors of the astral body. It is the one most easily sensed by a person on about to become clairvoyant. At times, the yellow may become visible even in physical matter to physical sight due to higher than normally activity of the intellect. So each quality of a person has its own type of astral matter when seen as a color. So the broad position of these colors depends upon the specific gravity of the specific grades of matter. So the broader principle is that good and unselfish qualities are associated through finer matter, and evil or selfish qualities are seen as matter that has comparatively low vibrations of coarse matter. So good emotions persist longer than evil emotions. Hence, after a favorable event, the feeling of love and devotion remains in the astral body for long after the causing event has been forgotten. However, it is possible for both the contrasting emotions to be present in the astral body at the same time. The after effects will continue, but the one at a higher level than the other, and hence outlasting the other one. So let me explain. So let's suppose you have two emotions that you felt at the same time. One is a positive emotion and other is a negative emotion. The one that is the positive emotion, the effect of that will outlast the one of the negative emotion. However, such occurrences are unusual. So the astral body is arranged in a certain way with various positions forming groups. However, a sudden surge of emotion may for the time being compel the entire or almost the entire matter in an astral body to vibrate at a certain rate, producing very prominent results. The entirety of the astral matter in the astral body is hurled around as though by an extremely violent storm. Hence, for the time being, the colors become very mixed. So colored examples are given in the book Man Visible and Invisible. So there's an image for the sudden rush of affection, a sudden rush of devotion, intense anger, shock of fear. See, the effects of sudden burst of emotions will be studied in more detail in the last section covering case studies. So the impact on appearance depending on development of man. So higher emotions touch the causal body, and the causal body will never directly reflect the lower emotions. The astral body over time starts resembling the mental body, and the mental body starts resembling the causal body. So these are the rates of vibration that are based on the stage of development. Higher directions of development negatively impacts others, The appearance as per the stage of development will be seen for the savage type, for the average man, for the developed man, and for the young child. So higher emotions touch the causal body. So the higher emotions like selfless love and devotion belong to the highest astral subplane. These emotions then are reflected in corresponding matter of the mental plane. Thereby they touch not the lower mental body, but the causal body, which is also referred to as the higher mental body. The ego, which we call the self, resides on the higher mental plane. Hence, the ego is impacted only by noble selfless thoughts. Lower thoughts do not affect the ego, but they do affect the permanent atoms. So causal body will not directly reflect lower emotions. So hence, while the lower emotions and feelings and thoughts are absent in the causal body, their presence shows as absence of good colors rather than presence of bad colors. So therefore, it means that if a person is having vices, let us say of stealing, we know that the opposite of the vice of stealing is the virtue of generosity. So if you look at the causal body, that causal body will not have the colors of generosity in it, and by that we imply that there is a tendency to steal perhaps in the lower mental body. So for example, selfishness would show itself as the absence of affection or sympathy. And as soon as the selfishness is replaced by the opposite, the gap in the causal body would be filled up. A sharp deepening of the baser, coarser colors of the astral body, representing the base emotions, will tend to reduce the brightness of the colors representing the opposite virtues in the causal body, though it will not show itself directly in the causal body. So the astral body starts resembling the mental body. So as a man develops, his astral body increasingly resembles his mental body. Eventually, the astral body becomes a reflection of mental body in astral matter, like reflection of the sky in a clear pond. This means that the person has his emotions and desires under complete control of the mind. She or he can no longer be carried away by an emotional wave or surge. Such a person will still be subject to an occasional irritability and different undesirable cravings. However, she or he is now wise enough to repress these lower desires and not surrender to them. So, over time, the mental body starts resembling the causal body. So, later, the mental body becomes a reflection of the causal body. Like the astral had become a reflection of mental, we discussed that. Likewise, the mental body becomes a reflection of the causal body. This happens as a man learns to obey only the instructions of the higher self. Hence, the mind body and the astral body of an arhat would not tend to have any colors of their own. They would be a replica of the causal body to the extent that the lower octaves can represent it in. These bodies have a lovely glow and an opalescent mother of pearl indescribable appearance to it. So the rates of vibration based on the stage of development. So the rates of vibration in astral body also differs based on the stage of development. A developed person has 5 rates of vibration. An ordinary person shows at least 9 rates with a mixture of various shades thrown in. Many people have 50 or 100 rates. The entire shows the entire astral body shows many little whirlpools and cross currents, all pitted one against the other in chaos. This is driven by unnecessary emotion and worries. Most ordinary people in Western countries exhibit this kind of an astral body. Thus, most of their strength gets lost. The higher directions of vibrations negatively impacts others. So an astral body that vibrates as so many directions together is distasteful to see and is a serious annoyance. Like a physical body suffering from extreme involuntary tremors, its muscles shaking violently in different directions. Such astral effects are contagious. They impact all the sensitive persons who come close. Such uncontrolled bodies convey a lot of unpleasant rest and worry. In cities, you tend to have of people needlessly worked up at all sorts of foolish desires and feelings. Hence, a sensitive person finds it tough to live in a great city or move amongst crowds. The constant astral disturbances may even react through the etheric double and set up nervous diseases. So now the appearance as per the stage of development. So the book mentions about a book by C.W. Leadbeater, which is The Man Visible and Invisible. So this has the illustrations of the appearance of the astral bodies. The appearance is described as below. For the savage type, the average man, the developed man, and a young child. So the image is presented in plate 7, the page 88 of this book. A large portion is sensuality, deceit, selfishness, and greed are also very prominent. There are stains and marks of dull scarlet, implying fierce anger. Very little affection appears, and such intellect and religious feelings are of the lowest possible kind. The outline is irregular and its colors are blurred, thick, and heavy. The whole body is clearly uncontrolled, confused, and ill-regulated. In an average man, for the image is presented as above, the lust feelings are lower, though they are still quite high. The selfishness is also very visible, and there is some potential of the person to be deceitful for personal gains. However, the green begins to differentiate into two distinct qualities, implying that cunning is gradually becoming adaptability. Anger is still clearly visible. Affection, intellect, and devotion are of a finer quality and are more pronounced. Overall, the colors are better defined and brighter, though none of them are perfectly clear. The astral body now has a more defined and regular outline to it. So coming to the developed man, as per the image presented in this plate, the lower qualities have almost entirely vanished. The spiritual aspiration is indicated by a strip of lilac at the top of the head, a dense mist of the brilliant yellow of intellect envelops the head, a white band of the devotional blue appears below that. Across the trunk, one finds a still broader belt of the rose of affection. The lower part of the body has a large amount of the green of adaptability and sympathy. Overall, the astral body of a well-developed man has a well-defined outline and the colors in luminous, well-defined bands. The entire body appearing orderly and under complete control. For a young child, So only a young child has a white or a relatively colorless aura. The colors begin to express themselves as the qualities develop. The astral body of a child is often extremely beautiful. It has pure and luminescent colors, and it is bereft of the blots of lust, greed, malice, and selfishness. It may also be possible to see the tendencies brought over from his last life as dormant seeds, which some could be evil and some could be good. Hence, it may be possible to see the child's future life. So that is the end of this particular section. Now we will dive into the case studies in the next video. Stay tuned.